Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and Celtic are back. Yesterday, some of you joined me for the watch-along on the channel as Celtic beat Wiener Victoria 7-0 in their first pre-season friendly. But how good does it feel just to have Celtic back? It doesn't matter who we're playing. To watch 90 minutes of club football is a feeling like no other. I know it's a late upload tonight, a wee bit later than usual, but sit down, relax, and we'll try and get something out of it. Right, before we go any further, you know what to do. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're very, very close now to 35,000 subscribers. I've also promised a kit giveaway as well, so if you want your chance of winning one of the new Celtic shirts, please hit like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. Thank you all so much for that support yesterday on the watch along. By the way, it went much better than anticipated. I think we peaked at almost 1,000 viewers. We had about 750 consistently throughout the stream. And we had a good laugh, a bit of fun during a pre-season friendly game. And that's what they're all about. So thank you for coming along if you did. We'll hopefully have another one on Saturday for the game against Rapid Vienna. Just need to see what's happening on Saturday. So yeah, if not, we'll be back for the one after that. But anyway, let's talk about Celtic. So Celtic back in action yesterday, 7-0 winners over Wiener Victoria in that opening pre-season friendly game. I mean, you've got to take everything with a pinch of salt in these games. There's not much to get carried away about. You don't need to be overly critical. It's just a training exercise, basically. And let's be real, the opposition yesterday, well, I don't even know if they'd make it in League 2 in Scotland, to be quite honest. It was a walk in the park for Celtic as they fielded a sort of second string side, you could say. Most of the star players, they were left on the sidelines to watch on. But a very good performance from the guys who did field the pitch. And that's what we're here to talk about today. We're going to talk about some youngsters who stood out in that game yesterday. Generally, I thought the game was decent. First half in particular, 6-0 up at half time. There was some nice movement. We've seen a lot of the normal traits of Ange Ball, you could say. And we looked well up for it. Second half sort of tailed off a little bit. But you look at the two teams that started both halves and how different they were, or how they finished both halves, I should say. Second half was really a B-team sort of experiment. But look, we didn't have to go out there and murder them 14-15-0. I think we probably showed them a little bit of mercy as the game went on. But ultimately, I'm happy with what we've seen. It's good to see Celtic back in action. And it's good to get the fitness in the legs. And these games are obviously what prepares you for the main campaign ahead, which is, very quickly coming on us now. We've got Aberdeen at the end of the month. That's the first game of the season. So these games are vital in getting players prepared and ready. There were some great performances yesterday. I was really happy with the likes of Alexandro Bernabeu on his debut for the club. I thought he looked decent. It was nice to see the likes of Yosuke Ideguchi, who we've seen very rarely. And ultimately some players who we never really get to see. James McCarthy, he had a run out. James Forrest, who struggled last season with some knocks and injuries. And Mikey Johnson, who needed a little bit of confidence in his game, and he found the net yesterday. So, it was good to see us back. Generally, as I said, there's not much to critique on these games, but we move forward, and Saturday will definitely be a tougher test, I would imagine. So yesterday was a good chance for some of the youngsters to shine and show us what the future is made of for Celtic. But disclaimer, can I just throw it out there, we're taking everything with a pinch of salt, as I've said. There is no need to kind of blow any performances out of proportion here, or overhype anyone over a friendly win against an Austrian third or fourth tier side. It's pretty standard stuff, and you'd be hoping that the youngsters in the Celtic youth setup would be good enough for the task. But I still think, we can sit down and openly speak about how younger players shone yesterday and the kind of performances they gave us and how they could help Celtic moving forward, whether it be this season, 2 seasons or 3 seasons away. Celtic have a responsibility to bring players through the youth academy and get them ready for the first team. And I just want to use this opportunity to talk about 3 players yesterday who really stood out for me in the limited time they may have had. So yeah, we're going to talk about 3 in particular. I'm going to run through each one, and we're going to talk about how they could be influential in the coming years at Celtic. But before you start crying in the comments, I know, let's not pile the pressure on. Let's not get over our heads. It was a friendly game against Wiener Victoria. But there's not much else to talk about right now, is there? First off, I want to talk about Johnny Kenny. Yesterday, he got on the score sheet twice with his first half performance. And someone who has been obviously at the club for a little while now. He joined in the January transfer window. When he first signed, we were sort of unsure whether or not that was a first team signing or a signing for the B team. And it was very quickly seen that it was meant for the B team. And he was unlucky right at the start. Remember, he came in, he got quite a nasty injury straight away when he joined the club. I think he was stretchered off very early on in his B team B-team career. But he's someone who we have heard a lot about, one of these signings coming from the League of Ireland. So a lot of the Irish fans want to see him succeed at Celtic, and there's always had discussion of whether or not the players that we bring over from there are good enough or not. But yesterday was huge for him, and I quite liked what I seen of him. It looked like quite a presence in that final third. Someone who I didn't expect to be probably as present as I'm not saying he reminded me of Giakoumakis or nothing, but he was there in the area. He was using his body, using his physicality, and you've seen that when he went in for his 2 goals. He was in the right place at the right time. He had that sort of poacher ability about him, I thought. And I feel like it's someone who I was going into the game ready to hopefully blow me away to some as much as you can be blown away against Vienna Victoria. But I was looking to see goals. He was the man that was responsible for leading the line. He was up top. So you want to see goals and that opportunity for a player like that. And he delivered. He got 2. And he was very unlucky not to get a hat-trick. When Christopher Julian got his goal, you could see he sort of snatched the hat-trick opportunity away from Johnny Kenny. But I liked him. I thought he looked pacey. I thought he looked powerful as well. And it looked as though he had the mind of an intelligent footballer. He linked up well with Mikey Johnson on that left-hand side. And although that might not be a link-up that we'll see too often in the future at Celtic, I think that he made the best of his opportunity yesterday. And he's certainly someone who I think can offer a lot going forward for the B team this season. It'll be a big year for him playing in that B team. Let's be real, the 3 guys we're going to talk about here, they probably won't get an awful lot of opportunities in the first team beyond pre-season, at least in this campaign. But he can certainly work hard towards that. So the B team campaign this season for Johnny Kenny is very, very big. Hopefully he scores a good amount of goals. And obviously beyond that, you're talking about coming up and being an option for Celtic as we look for strikers. I still think there's room for another striker at Celtic, but with that comes an opportunity for Johnny Kenny to try and establish himself as an option for Postecoglou. So keep doing that in the pre-season. I think if we can keep getting goals added onto him, it'll be good. But I really liked what we've seen of him. He spoke to Celtic TV after the game yesterday. This is what he had to say. It's been good to get out on the pitch with the first team for the first time, and to obviously top it off with 2 goals and a 7-0 win. So it's been a good start to pre-season, but we keep going. For the first one, Mikey Johnson done well. I've played with Mikey before, and I knew he would find me at the back post. Luckily, he did. The second one, Berner whips it in, and I got in a bit lucky, but had to be alive to finish it first time. And that's it. As I said, the sort of comparisons to Giakoumakis, and I think there's obviously a gulf in quality there at the moment, but that poaching ability, that the ability to read the game and get into the right areas is something we know can be vital for Celtic, because we've seen how vital Giakoumakis was in the last 6 months of the previous campaign. So keep that up. Give us that sort of striker to come in and be the natural heir to Giakoumakis' throne when he departs. Second player I want to talk about is Roccovata. He was actually one of the guys heading into this camp that I was excited to see the most, and I wanted to see him get some football over the course of the pre-season friendlies, and he came on in that second half and played more on that kind of right-hand side. And he looked really good. I thought he was decent. Once again, just like Johnny Kenny, he found the net. He managed to find his first Celtic goal, albeit a friendly goal, but he managed to score anyway. And he had a couple of really good opportunities. He looks like a tricky sort of player. And the thing is about Roccovata, he's still very young. So to see him coming in and bedding well with the players that he played with yesterday is very encouraging signs of development. Still only 17 years of age. There's a long way to go for Roccovata. Obviously, the son of Rudy Vata, who previously played for Celtic. But I like that, and I think that in the B team season last year, he was one of the names that I kept hearing pop up in terms of our most exciting players to watch. He's bigger than I thought as well. I kept at one point, if you were watching the watch along, I kept confusing him with Liam Shaw during certain periods of the game. So I don't know if that was just me being a dafty, and maybe the camera quality being a little bit deceiving because he was all over the place. But he done well on that right hand side. He held himself well. I thought he was able to stand up to defenders, albeit the quality they possess, but stood up to him quite well, and he took his opportunities when he had them, created a couple of good ones himself. He looked comfortable on the ball. He's someone whose development excites me, the thought of it, to get to first team level with the many years that he's got ahead of him. 17, you're talking 18, 19, 20. That's 3 years before he's even, reached 20, and reaching that point there, that he can become an even better player. But he looked creative, and I liked the look of him yesterday. And finally, the one that I think has probably grabbed everyone's attention the most yesterday, Bolaslaw. He looks a brilliant asset to Celtic, and one that's going to stand out in the future, I think. And as I said, I don't want to get carried away from a performance against... defensively, Bolaslaw had nothing to do. And that opening 45 in particular, They had no hold of the ball. Celtic dominated the game. All he really had to do was pass it out from the back every now and then, and maybe have the odd opportunity of carrying it forward. But the presence that guy has at the back, thought he looked really good, really natural. I thought he looked more natural than Christopher Julian, to be quite honest with you. And then once again, it's a very young guy who came into the club from Watford last year with a little bit of, I don't want to use the word expectation, but there was something about him. So people knew a little bit. There was people saying that he could be a player. It was people from Watford saying, you've landed a top talent here. And I think that he's someone in coming years for Celtic could be of great use. And it also raises the question about, I mean, it depends how quickly you want to bring him into this first team. And I'm not saying rush that. I'm not saying get him into the first team right now and we can use him this season and disregard the need for a centre-half. But Bolaslaw looked like the kind of player yesterday who could be ready to make a transition up the club. It looks like a player who could maybe be of use to some extent, and when there's an opportunity that comes knocking, I think he'll be one of the first players to get it from the B team. He looked fast, he looked strong, he looked powerful. A lot of great recoveries when it wasn't his fault at situations. I remember there was one that stood out to me. I think Julian, might have been Julian, or it was maybe Dede who came on a little bit later on in the game. Because I can't remember what half it was in, but they made a mistake, and he's at the other end of the box. He's way miles away or whatever, and he powers it in to come and try and make a recovery. And the speed that he possessed, while carrying the size that he does, the body that he does, it was frightening. And all of that in a centre-half, the pace and the power, those are the sort of attributes you need in a modern-day centre-half. And Ange Postecoglou's centre-half, he also just looked very comfortable every time he had the ball at his feet. He didn't look fazed by much. But yeah, I think that he's someone whose development could go much faster than a lot of the guys down there at that level right now. I was excited what I seen of him yesterday. Could be of use to us this season, but he stood out for me. Overall, when it comes to these three players, you've got to look at expectation, you've got to look at development. Let's not pile on too much pressure. I wanted to bring up the situation with Karamoko Dembele. For years, we obviously piled on expectation to Karamoko Dembele. There was this idea that he could come into the team and be good enough, he'd hold himself up, and he would strut right into the team and be good enough. And maybe it didn't help him. Maybe it didn't help the development, and maybe we rushed the development for him. Obviously, injuries didn't help when it came to Karamoko Dembele either, but we've seen how that's panned out. He left us this week, we made no money, and he's gone. His future is elsewhere, it's not at Celtic. So I think that every time we look at players like this, we have to, understand expectation. I see a few people on Twitter are proper hyping him up. Listen, it's a friendly against Vina Victoria. We'll take it one game at a time, but I do agree. There's encouraging signs there from that opening friendly, and I'm certainly sort of ambitious, and I do believe that can be built upon in these coming friendly games. So as the tasks get tougher against tougher opposition, we'll be able to sit down and we'll be able to evaluate it much more thoroughly with a lot more evidence to gauge where the level is for them. But those three for me were three guys who really did stand out amongst the kind of younger stars who got a chance yesterday. And that'll do me for today. As I said, a late upload. Sorry, it is a little bit later on than normal. I've been kind of arsing about all day, deciding did I want to do a video, did I not want to do a video, but that's my duty, that's my job, that is what you all subscribe for. So if you are enjoying, please, as always, make sure that like and subscribe. But that'll do me for today. I hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you all next time.